Hi,
Hello.
I'm Julian.
Cowboy Tom.
We are Team Binge, and we are here to talk about Outer Range, Season 2, Episode 4. This episode is called Ode to Joy.
Are all the titles songs? I'm just realizing the last two episodes we did are song titles.
Tom, the titles of episodes has always been your job, so you should be making them up, and that's on you. My kids are really into Garfield right now, so everything I see is Garfield related. And Ode to Joy looks like Ode to Joy to me. And I enjoyed this episode. This is like kind of a bottle episode, right?
Yeah.
It's like, hey, we're going to focus on one. Instead of intercutting her story in with others, we're just going to give her episode. And, as someone who likes old Westerns, I enjoyed this.
Yeah, I'm a good fan of old westerns, but I felt like, it was a very slow episode. I felt like it was very heavy-handed on the racism and stuff that's kind of goes on in this time period. I felt like Royal's dad here, Levi, was just over the top awful. We talked about Wayne being awful to his son. I feel like it was just comically bad in this, a little bit too much for me. But I don't think we're expanding the central mystery a whole lot here. I'm so glad we got more of Joy because I love her as an actress and I love her stories. I'm glad she's back in our normal time zone. But knowing we only have a season left and we only have a handful of episodes, I was kind of bummed we spent a whole one doing more backstory.
Okay, that's fair. I wasn't ready for all of that criticism. Especially since I clearly wrote at the top of the outline, this was my favorite episode, and I loved Royal's dad. I thought he did an incredible job, and I wish he was, I literally, quote, I wish he was my dad in the episode, which, so that's fine. You and I can agree to disagree on those things. We have...
You tell me when he's being a good father, then we'll discuss.
Oh, well, I mean, good father in the sense of he's really pushing his kid to be a man at the young age of, I don't know, 3.5. No, 9. He wants what's best for Royal. You know what? And what's best for Royal is to help him go hunt down and shoot trespassers, I guess.
Yes, yeah.
We start with 1886, young Royal learning some subtle racism from his father. Don't they open up with him not being able to pay for something? Isn't that the opening of this? Did I not write that
he goes
down?
to the local cobbler, and he's trying to get a new pair of shoes, and he pays for them. He gets a super large pair of shoes, which I feel for as a dad who's bought way too many shoes for my kid that he's outgrown in seemingly a week. I get buying a mega shoe and letting him grow into it. But the comedy here of the cobbler saying, oh, yep, sorry, you don't have enough money, and pointing to the sign where the sign reads, notice, price is increasing, is so good.
Yes, and it's nice to know that what's happening in 1886 is still happening in modern day. Yeah, my favorite part was Levi, Royal's dad, being like, all right, kid, stay here. Keep those giant clown shoes on. I'm going to go get more money. And you're like, where are you going to go get more money? And I also agree with you that buying children's shoes is a waste of money because they're just going to grow out of them. We should just duct tape their shoes.
Yeah, agreed.
Here's a little anecdote for you, Tom. So my son, we bought him tennis shoes. He runs around in them, and he wore holes in the toes. And he's at an age where he doesn't feel it necessary to tell his parents that he wore holes in his shoes, or he just doesn't notice. And so I watched him put his shoes on and felt terrible because he had holes in his shoes and his toes were poking out. And I was like, son, you have to tell us these things. And he's like, I know, but they still fit. And it's like, okay, we're going to get you new shoes. And then he goes and gets the red duct tape, and he duct tapes the front of both of his shoes. And he's like, they look cool now. And I'm like, okay, sure. Well, fast forward to like a week, we're getting out of the car to go to church. And I look down, and my son is wearing duct tape shoes, even though we had purchased him new shoes.
Well, did he get the black duct tape, though, to make him classy?
No, red duct tape, Tom, so it was more noticeable. So we sent our son into Sunday school, and it was like, here's this poor child whose parents won't buy him new shoes, so he had to duct tape him on his own.
That's
And
fantastic.
yes, that's just great parenting on our part, and great being a child. He's so resourceful. He's just like, I'm gonna duct tape my toes into these shoes.
Listen, Julian, I know that you go to a lot of stores and you see those signs that say notice prices are increasing. But if you needed money, man, to buy your kids shoes, we're making a lot in this podcast. So
Yeah,
you can take it from our coffers.
The saddest part is the church passed the plate around, and they were like, hey, we couldn't help but notice your kid needed new shoes. Please. And you're like,
Oh, I thought you were going to say we couldn't help but notice, but you took money from the thing. You didn't put money in.
Well, sometimes you got to break a 20,
Yeah.
All right.
Change.
So there's a funny conversation that happens between Joy and Falling Star where they're going over like pop culture references, and she's talking about like how I guess rich Michael Jackson was and how important he was compared to the Beatles, which I know hurt you as a Beatles fan.
Yeah,
and
that wasn't accurate, but that's fine.
I like that this is a subtle like, hey, she's been here for 4 years, and I was like, oh, they really yada yada'd 4 years
Yes,
of Joy
very
living
much
with
so.
this tribe, and they also are yada yadaing a Falling Star having a lung disease, something along the lines of, I don't know, tuberculosis.
I think she mentioned specifically cancer because she was a
Oh,
nurse,
is
so I
it?
think she knows. Yeah.
Oh, that's right. Sorry, I listened to a podcast on Tombstone, so I've just got that Lunger Doc Holliday in my mind. But
Oh. I
Falling
thought you were going to
Star
say I
is
listened
dying.
to a tuberculosis podcast. I'm like, good for you. Always learning.
Yeah, there's a thriving research that says we should bring it back. So yeah, that's the podcast I listen to.
But we do get like some of their conversation that Joy has seemingly never lost hope of returning home. Because I think Falling Star in the last episode or last time we were with Joy was kind of telling her like, listen, you need to accept your life here. But we kind of find out that Joy still believes she could find a way home.
Yes, she does. And based on how the last episode ended, we also have hope that Joy finds her way home.
Yes.
Because did the last episode need that scene? Like, isn't this a better episode if we don't know that Joy's going to return?
Yeah, it probably would have been. I mean, again, you choose which you want to be more satisfying. Do you want to have a satisfying tag in the last episode? Because if it just ended in CC and Royal just yelling at each other, that probably wouldn't have been exciting. Like
My favorite.
you'd have some sort of like a button to that one. But yeah, it did kind of take the sting out of it, especially because this episode ends exactly like the other one does. Like it just picks back up. It would have been interesting if they at least went on a little bit further.
Right, she's climbing out of a hole and they hit her with a car. Yeah, just like the other one ended. We have a couple of kids buffalo hunting, and they are buffalo hunting, I'm going to say, ineffectively. They put 2 arrows
Slowly.
into this buffalo. This buffalo gives them kind of a hard look, like, please stop tickling me with your arrows, children. And you recognize this buffalo.
I love this. Yeah, this is like the callback. This is our season 1 buffalo, right? The very prominent buffalo that comes in and is like the first weird thing that Royal is seeing in season 1 that has the two arrows. And I don't know which characters actually pulled the arrows out of the bison, but I thought it was cool.
I thought it was a great callback, but what's this bison or buffalo's journey then? So it gets shot with 2 arrows, and then it wanders over and falls into the hole? So I guess, well, I'm just realizing it now. This is the show letting us know, well, they didn't need to let us know because of the way the other episode ended. Like, what? It's a great callback, but does this buffalo then wander over and fall into the hole and then appear in front of Royal? How does that work?
It would have been fantastic. It's like at the very end of the episode where little Royal and Joy are falling through. Like in the very, very background, you can see a bison just slowly falling as well. That would have been great.
And it's just like half off wings at Buffalo Wild Wings on Tuesdays. This is all just a Buffalo Wild Wings commercial.
It is.
That and Marlboro Reds.
Oh, goodness, it's back.
It's back. All right. We have some Indians attacking settlers. No, they're knocked out by the settlers. The settlers attack them. Sorry. That was maybe.
It was a journey. They like essentially, I know, like they went across the river, which I guess is no longer like the Shoshone
They were
land. Yeah, so
trespassing,
like
Tom.
trespassing. Yeah.
Although one
and-
would argue someone trespassed first, but let's not litigate that here.
True.
Yeah. So the kids are, well, one kid is taken captive, and then the other one takes off, right?
Yes, the other one gets away. Flowers is the one that gets taken.
And we discover that it's picture day at the local tribe community, and everyone's gathered to take their annual photo. And this is
Like
the
Joey needs some
Shoshone.
convincing here, right? Like to be like the new head of settler relations, I guess. I don't know, because she's like very reluctant initially to take this picture.
Right, and we find out that the guy that is talking with her, he is the Indian agent. So he is the government's agent that handles relations with native tribes. And, I mean, historically, I'm pretty sure... Honestly, I don't know if Indian agents... I'm sure there were bad seeds. I don't know what the plus or minus of their influence being bad or good. Having read Killers of a Flower Moon not too long ago, it seems like they were probably all terrible. But this guy seems like his heart's in the right place a little bit, right?
Yeah, I think so.
All right. Falling Star and Joy. Does Joy get a new name, or are we just calling her Joy? She's
Just call her
not.
Joy.
She's just Joy. She already had her name, so she doesn't need a new one. I would be kind of bummed. I'd be like, hey, when do I get a cool name? Like Falling Julian. And Falling Star's like, you're just adding falling to the front of your name. That's not really how this works.
Well,
And
we
I'd
already
be
know
like,
your Indian name would be Drinker's Niece.
Drinker's Niece. Oh man, you know what? That'd be great because I would get out of all the hard work. They'd be like, "Hey, a buffalo fell on the road and we need to move it so the pickup truck can get through." And I'd be like, "I don't recognize most of what you said, but Drinker's Knees cannot help lift heavy things." Yes, that would get me out of a lot of work. Thank you, Tom, for reminding me of my name.
You're welcome.
Joy is roused to action by the child who comes running back and says they have Flowers. So Flowers is the child that has been taken by the settlers, and this leads to Glock time, which I know she burnt her cell phone. I was very glad that she kept her semi-automatic Glock for times like these, because this is where she becomes the best warrior in the tribe, because she can put out several rounds in several seconds with that German manufactured gun. So
Yeah, and she hasn't had to use it for 4 years, so she's been holding on to it for a while.
I mean, it was probably tough not to use all your ammunition. I'm sure there were several times where a buffalo wandered into camp and she was like, "Oh, I could probably take that buffalo down, but I'm going to save ammunition in case a settler steals Flowers." So,
Smart.
yep. Before she leaves, we have to have a feather ceremony and a speech time. And this, I don't know if this is offensive, but this reminded me a little bit of Parks and Rec. Whenever they are trying to do something and the tribal leader comes out in order to allow them to do something. I'm sure it is offensive, but this is what that reminded me of, and I'm sorry to whoever I've offended.
Yeah, but it's Falling Star kind of giving like a speech of before she kind of goes out to kind of save
Flowers.
Save Flowers, right? And I think she ends up, I don't know if it's here or if it's later, but sends the other kid out to find the warriors who are kind of like off the kind of tribe land or hunting or doing whatever kind of they're doing and can't help. So that's why Joy has to come to the rescue.
Yeah, they all left. They were like, hey, we're going to go out and hunt buffalo, so we're going to be gone for a little while. Meanwhile, these two kids found buffalo, I don't know, not that far from camp, which leads me to believe those men are probably watching some sort of tournament basketball game, and they just didn't want to have to deal with their families. It's March Madness, and they were like, let's tell them we're buffalo hunting, but we're going to go to Buffalo Wild Wings instead and watch March Madness. I think that's what's happening.
Yeah, that makes sense.
This episode is brought to you by Shopify. Upgrade your business with Shopify, home of the #1 checkout on the planet. Shop Pay boosts conversions up to 50%, meaning fewer carts going abandoned and more sales going cha-ching. So if you're into growing your business, get a commerce platform that's ready to sell wherever your customers are. Visit shopify.com to upgrade your selling today.
There is a point here when Joy, so she takes the horse, she, I don't know, gets closer, gets off the horse, and then starts kind of doing her detective work. When I feel like this is a movie trope thing where you tie up a horse by just taking the reins and just gently putting it over a tree limb, and then the horse just doesn't move. I don't get that. Don't you actually have to tie it, or the horse feels like it's tied? What's going on here?
I think if you wrap it so that there's leather on leather contact, that friction will not allow that horse to pull away immediately. I know what you're talking about. It's like in Westerns, they ride up to the saloon and they just kind of wrap their reins around. I think that resistance is enough to keep a horse in place. But, Tom, I've never been a cowboy. I should have been a cowboy, much like the Toby Keith song, but I never learned to rope and ride, you know? What I thought was interesting is as she's tracking, she stops and I believe she smells a bullet and she finds a bow. And Tom, this reminded me,
no.
I don't know if you've ever seen it, but there's a movie called Almost Heroes. And it's got Chris Farley, R.I.P., and Matthew Perry, R.I.P., and they are like tracking someone and they're, I think, trying to find a buffalo herd. And Chris Farley bends down and there's like a buffalo patty on the ground and he smells it and he's like, oh, the herd's over there. And Matthew Perry's like, you can tell that just from the smell. And he's like, no, I see the herd over there. And so that's what this scene reminded me. Tom, have you ever seen that scene or Almost Heroes?
It gets funnier every time you recount that scene. So thank you. Thank you again for that.
Tom?
You know, I feel like it's shame on me for reading the outline, seeing smells a bullet, and then not realizing that you were going to do this bit until just now.
Yeah, no, that is not shame on you. It's also a shame on you because the call and response on this is you're supposed to say, wait, isn't that from Wagons East, that movie? So I have triumphed in this bit and you have failed horribly. Just like the people that are guarding flowers, because Joy quickly turns into, what's John Wick's name? I believe it's John Wick. I had Wick, I couldn't remember his first name. She becomes Joy Wick, and she kills the guard, shoots them all. Once again, that Glock is doing a lot of work, and Joy is in her element. Although she does get shot in the leg, and that looked a little bit painful, and one gets away.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
this was harrowing. I enjoyed this scene.
Yeah,
for an action scene.
Mm-hmm. It was very good. Flowers was definitely in distress. Joy needed to kind of come in and intervene. And I don't love the idea of like her getting shot, but then like making her kind of vulnerable and having to essentially try to escape the rest of the sequence. It makes it made it for a fun episode.
Yeah, I wonder if when they pitched this actress this role, they were like, listen, in season 2, there's a scene where you get to shoot a lot of people and it's going to be cool. And she's like, oh, and I get away unscathed? And they're like, not really. But in the end, you're going to pop out of a space hole in the ground. And she's like, a space hole? What? And her agent's like, just take the job. She's like, all right, I'm in. And that is the journey of Joy to this show. No, I'm a big fan of Joy. I for a show that maybe lacks, let's say, like, I don't know, action, I thought they did this well. And
Agreed.
I don't need a show that has a ton of action, but I did like what they did with this episode. So would you like to take back your comment where you said this episode was slow? Because there was a gunfight in a barn, and it was pretty cool, Tom. Your response?
I mean, this was like a jog of the slowness of the episode.
Speaking of jogging, Joy gets shot in the leg and won't be jogging. So let's go to Levi selling the family cow.
And I'm assuming for magic beans?
Yes, he is selling the family cow to get magic beans in order to climb that beanstalk through the space hole so that he can be racist in modern times. And
I realize you can get to the space hole from above. I like it.
He's like, I built this beanstalk, but really the hole's in the ground. So great, I wasted the family cow again. And his wife says, told you so. And then he hits her because he's a terrible, abusive husband, as well as father. Did not like this. I did like that his wife was the reasonable person that was like, why are you selling the cow, you idiot?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, supposed to make us or get us through winter.
And then, like a man, someone's like, hey, we need to go track down and kill some people. And he's like, all right, everything's solved here in terms of me selling the family cow and being abusive. Great. Royal, grab your gun. We're going to go shoot some people. And the show was very cleverly like, hey, Levi, you know how to track, right? And he's like, of course, I'm a well-known tracker. He looks into the camera and then...
Wink.
Yeah, winks. And then that, noise that plays when you're supposed to turn the page on a Disney audiobook from when we were children happens, and we move on. And so we have a town mob gathering, Tom, and you love a town mob.
I love you some rabble, rabble, rabble.
Rabble, rabble. They're off to go kill the Indians, which, once again, the Indian agent is like, hey, maybe let's not do this. Let's talk about it. Mm-hmm. But everyone's bloodlust is up because they stole a kid and that went poorly, and so now they're mad, which just seemed like probably how these things typically went. But who knows? I didn't live in the 1880s, Tom. This will surprise you to know I didn't live back then.
Really?
Yep. I just read books about it. It's time for some medicine, and the medicine is going to work, and the bullet magically pops out of her leg, and her leg is sealed, and she starts doing jumping jacks. Am I remembering this scene correctly?
I don't know if it's exactly the same way, but yeah, she gets some medicine. It seems to help, but I feel like in the next couple scenes, she's still just losing a tremendous amount of blood when Royal and Levi are tracking her. It seems like if you were losing that amount of blood, you probably wouldn't be standing anymore. But I do like the back and forth that Joy and Flowers have here. Joy, I think, even mentions at one point, like, I know what it's like to be kidnapped or something. I don't know exactly what she was referencing, if that's a callback from season 1, or if she's saying she's kidnapped or trapped in this time period. I don't know.
Well, Flowers implies she knows that Joy is not from this time. Like, somehow Flowers knows that. So I'm wondering, does the tribe just know that she is not of this time? Is that...
Yeah, I don't know. Did they know that, like, Falling Star wasn't a part of this time? Like, did she tell that story? Because I think they had a vision of somebody coming to save them or help them, and that's where Falling Star kind of came in. So yeah, I'm not sure what that relation or backstory is, nor I think we're going to find out since we just left this world after the end of this episode.
It does seem like Falling Star and Joy might want to give these folks a little bit of insight into how history works out for them, because the only telegraphing Joy does is with the Indian agent, where he's like, I think, these relationships are going to work out. We're going to figure it out. And Joy's like, no, it is not. Like, this is going to go bad. Yeah. So I do feel like Falling Star and Joy are maybe letting these people down a little bit by not preparing them for the worst to come.
And that's kind of that causality thing. I'll mention that word again that we kind of talked about with Royal and Perry. Like, I don't know, it's like a butterfly effect. They don't want to tell them. I don't think they're going to. This show's going to explore any of that kind of stuff. So they're just trying to stay away from it.
Man, if I was Joy, I would be like, listen, guys, we're going to go find some oil under the ground. I'm going to help you guys find it. And then we're all going to be rich for a long, long time. Also, the 1886 Super Bowl is won by the Dallas Cowboys. So we're going to put a lot of money on the Dallas Cowboys.
And here's the sports almanac.
Here's the sports almanac. And there's Michael J. Fox playing guitar.
This Flowers and Joy conversation, though, of like Joy saying, like, just go, take the horse, go, get out of here. Flowers being like, no, I will never leave you. Okay, bye-bye.
See ya. Yeah, this is very much a movie thing. But also, I don't know. There are certainly times in your life where you're like, all right, I'm going to stick it out. And then you're like, oh, do I really have to stick it out for this long? You know what? I think I'm not going to stick it out. See ya. I'm out. It's mainly when you're helping someone move into their house and it's like, oh, this is going to take all day.
Yeah, and you conveniently move out of town or, take a vacation when your friend moves out of town. Yeah, or moves houses. Yeah, I get it. I understand.
Oh, I set myself up to be exposed there. My bad. I didn't realize there was still a lot of resentment.
No.
I'm sorry. All right. It's not like I have a truck or a trailer that could have helped you,
Yeah. Remember when I got married that one time and then you didn't come to my wedding?
There were things going on in my life, all right? It was March Madness. Buffalo Wild Wings was running a deal. I couldn't show up, Tom. I'm sorry.
It's okay. I forgive you.
It was a cash bar. I wasn't going to pay for my own booze. Come on. Like the guy in the $5,000 suit's going to show up. Come on. All right. We have Levi and Royal doing some tracking. I think this is about the point in the episode where I was like, oh, we've kind of seen this before. And I think I know where this is heading. They have a very funny... I don't know what the old man's name is that, got them to do the tracking here. I don't... we'll call him, Old Abe. But he's like, get off your horse, you're making too much noise. They have a fun argument. The parenting isn't great. He's like, Royal, don't be so worthless. Help me kill the person that we're chasing or tracking.
Yeah, it's just, again, it's comically over the top. It was a bit too much. And I get, looking back at it, I get it because it needs to culminate in Royal ultimately shooting him. So you just need to make him to be the worst possible villain ever. But I was too heavy-handed for me with the writing on this.
That's fair. We have the rabble running into the warriors that Falling Star had that boy bring back. So there is a scene where all these guys are at the top of a plateau looking down at the village. And they all pull their rifles out in sequence. And it was almost like whoever directed this episode was like, hey, have you ever seen the Magnificent Seven or any of these? I need you guys all to pull your rifles out and flip them almost like they're a synchronized swimming dance team. And I was like, oh, that's a little much, but it looks kind of cool, I guess.
Yeah,
but it definitely brought me out of the moment where I was like, these guys had to have practiced that. They're like 5, 6, 7, 8. You. No, Jimmy, you're too fast. And you got to spin. No, the other way. I wanted to see what that rehearsal was like, I guess is what I'm getting at.
Yeah, no, that's fair. But that happens kind of towards the end, right? Where the Rabble team, because I don't think we're there quite yet. I think Falling Star just tells the other kid to, hey, go bring back the Warriors. And then the Warriors kind of show up and all those guys just indiscriminately shoot at the teepees.
All right, that's right. I prematurely shot my rifle. I prematurely drew my rifle out of its holster and spun it. So I was out of sequence. I apologize.
You're Jimmy
John.
in that analogy.
Yes, I am Jimmy getting yelled at by the rifle dance team coach, who's part of the mob. But what I'm not too early on is Joy seeing the two-arrowed bison just wandering on by.
Yeah, and what's your take on this? Does she recognize it? Did she see it in season 1 and realize, oh, this is a sign, I'm going to potentially find my way home? Because I feel like it kind of stops on her for a beat as she's staring at it.
It's tough for me to really see inside of the mind of a bison, Tom, but yes, I do think she, the bison, does recognize Joy and is thinking, oh, I am going to make it home. And
yeah,
so
Barbara the bison.
Yeah, Barbara the bison. I do think there is a moment where great acting by this, I'm assuming CGI bison. She recognizes Joy. She says, oh, I know this person from the future where I'm going. And I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what the significance of the 2-arrow bison is. We know people are traveling back in time. Why does this bison have to also go on this journey? And why does this bison always where the action is? Like, I don't know.
I feel like it was just more of and who knows, maybe in season 1 they knew they were going to do this Joy going back in time and then this bison's going to show up. I would give them that credit because season 1 did end with Joy going back there. Or if they're kind of retconning and saying, hey, remember this mysterious bison we created in season 1? We need to make it kind of cool in season 2 and make it make sense.
I don't know. It was almost like the show was like, hey, you're not watching an episode of 1883 by Taylor Sheridan with Harrison Ford and Faith Hill. This is still Outer Range. We'll let you know that because this bison still has 2 arrows in it. Honestly, if Joy had hopped on it and rode it into the hole, I would have been all for that. But I don't understand what the significance is. There's one river in this whole area, and everyone keeps crossing it. It's like the show was like, listen, we've got the river crossing for 6 hours. We need to shoot several scenes on it.
Yes.
And this leads to where Royal purposely shoots his father, right? Tango down?
No,
right?
no, you jimmied it again. You're too soon.
Really?
Because the other guy that was with Royal and Levi was kind of going across the river, and then Joy kind of pops out behind the tree, and a la Dawn from...
that's right. She shoots him right in the dome, like
Yes.
one-handed, wounded in the leg. Probably the greatest shot of the whole Wild West is Joy.
Yeah, it just made me think of Dawn from Dark Matter, the other show we just recently pod on. Just fantastic shot.
Oh, yeah, can't stop shooting people in the forehead. That's true. This was... listen, no one was more surprised than the guy that got drilled in the dome. Let's just say that.
Yeah.
I almost feel like at that moment they cut to Levi and he's like, son of a gun. Like he knew the old man was shot. He didn't assume the old man shot Joy. Now I'm saying
he warned
Dawn.
him. He was being loud. He was, he had it coming, I guess.
Yeah, he did. He was kind of like, hey, can you not be in our way? You go track that way. Like... You know, when your dad's like, hey, you're really helping me sport with this chore. Why don't you go hammer that nail into that wood block over there while I install this ceiling fan? You're doing a great job. Hold the flashlight for me, bud. All right. Why am I at Joy Gives Royal a speech? Oh, she's talking to Little Royal, trying to tell him not to shoot her. That's why.
Yeah, Little
I'm
Royal
confused.
kind of
There's so many Royals in the show. There's handsome bicep Royal, there's old handsome Royal, and then there's young little boy handsome Royal, and it's very confusing.
Yeah, young trauma victim Royal. So she's kind of like laying there and kind of incapacitated, and young Royal kind of shows up on her first, and she's trying to give him this speech to kind of say like, hey, you're a good kid, you're going to be a good man, like don't be the kind of guy your father is. And this is where they have that again, like the just comically evil Levi, the dad, where he's like saying, oh, I wish my wife died in childbirth. Like I feel like they felt they needed to give him like one final line that just put it over the top, that gave Royal the
go ahead to shoot his
him.
dad.
Yeah. So yeah, but pretty brutal. And like, what's your overall thoughts here with like the kind of the retconning or changing the hunting accident that we got from the first season? Because I did go back and watch this. It wasn't just a flashback that we got of Royal's backstory of the hunting accident. He was actively telling the story to Perry as they were like over the hole. So I'm wondering, what's kind of your thoughts there? Was he trying to protect Perry or just say it was an accident? He's still ashamed that he actually did this to his father. Maybe he doesn't want Murder Eyes Perry to shoot him.
He doesn't want the tradition to continue.
Probably.
He doesn't want to put the idea in Sad Sack Perry's mind to shoot his dad.
Yeah.
No, I thought about this, and I didn't go back and watch that episode, but they do some clever things, if I recall, with he's telling that story to Perry, and they show him like lining up on a deer, and then it cuts, and he's shooting his dad. And so
You even see the deer. Like Royal at one point, I think before he stumbles across Joy, does see a deer.
Right. So I think the other story is just Royal telling a lie to Perry, and then the show showing us that lie. And then the show got renewed for a second season, and they were like, hey, we've got to change this. Did we leave ourselves a door open enough to do this? I thought your comment on Levi being cartoonishly evil was funny. It's like if he was like, yeah, I wish my wife died in childbirth, and the best flavor of Starburst is lemon. You're just like, oh, shoot that guy, Royal. So, yeah, I once again, I understood what they were doing. They laid it on a little thick, but my thought is that Royal telling that story to Perry, he was telling Perry a lie, and that this is obviously what actually happened. Although, is it what happened? Because Royal would have known who Joy was if we're talking about, what's the big word you constantly use about things happening? Causality? Yeah. So if the timey-wimey stuff holds up, then, I mean, Royal shoots his dad because Joy convinces him to do it. So does he have a memory where it's an accident too? I don't know, Tom. This is why these shows are so timey-wimey and dumb. I'm confused now. Now you're making me think. My brain hurts. I don't like it.
Yeah, and again, I don't know if we're going to get any of that. I don't know if the show is as interested in it, of trying to deal with, like, okay, if these characters from our first season current time going back, can they actually change and alter the reality, or is it just them kind of going back and forth? I don't know. But I mean, I would argue a 9-year-old Royal would not remember like a grown-up Joy in kind of the modern time after 60-some years or whatever.
I think if you're about to shoot your dad and someone talks you into it, you probably remember that conversation.
You remember that face?
I mean, it's tough for him to recall the memory of him killing his dad, recalling it enough to change the story for Perry, but not remember that there was another person being there like, hey, your dad's evil. He loves lemon Starburst. Shoot him. He loves lemon Skittles or lime Skittles, whatever. He loves, I've got a better one. He loves grape Jolly Ranchers. You got to put him down. Like, I think if you remember the trauma of shooting your dad, you probably remember the person that's trying to talk you into it as well.
I don't know. I feel like you have selective memory. You can block certain things out because you just don't want to. You don't want to think. Or
That's
maybe
fair. Maybe the memory he's telling Perry is like, you know, sometimes we lie to ourselves enough times that then the memory becomes the lie, and I mean, maybe that's what he's doing. I don't know. I'm not a therapist. All I know is that Levi was terrible, and I'm glad he's dead. I don't know. That's where I'm at. You know.
Okay. Good father, but glad he's dead.
Yeah, great father. Glad he's dead. I mean, terrible choice in flavors of candies. That's all. You know. All right. I bet he loved black licorice too. He seemed like a black licorice guy.
Shoot him.
Shoot him. Incredible. That's our threshold for shooting someone. Guy likes black licorice. I hope my dad doesn't listen to this. He loves black licorice. All right.
Yeah.
There's something to
disclaimer.
unpack there.
We don't actually shoot people.
No.
It's comedy.
Unless they love lemon Starburst. That's where I draw the line. But if you mash lemon with orange, that's pretty good Starburst. So let's move on, Tom. Then we have the final scene. Young Royal, dad murdering young Royal, jumps through the hole. Joy jumps with him. Seems to be a race. I think she grabs onto his heel.
Joy's leg is doing a lot better in this running sequence, right? She's almost catching up to Royal before he jumps in.
Oh, I think the adrenaline of knowing you can go back to your own time. Although, arguably, she doesn't know she's going back to her own time. She could be going, like, to the Stone Age. It's a brave move just to indiscriminately jump through the hole. Once again, throw a shovel into it like Royal did. That's solved.
We don't know the science.
Right, we don't know the science. No one knows the science. But they definitely jump through, and she grabs his heel.
Yeah, she tries to. If only we would have gotten Royal some bigger shoes, maybe this could have all been averted.
So, wait, what are you implying? What are you implying the size of the shoe matters?
Well, I mean, Levi got him big shoes, but if he would have gotten just a little bit bigger, maybe Joy could have held onto the shoe and saved him. I feel like, so this is the question, is the show implying that they can restore the timeline, or something would have potentially changed if she could have grabbed him? Would they have gone back together at the same time? Like, what's kind of your thoughts here?
I'm sorry, so she is unable to hold on to him? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, so she reaches out, tries to grab him, save him or do whatever, I don't know. Like, because I imagine maybe if they're together, the hugging, whatever, as they're falling through the hole, maybe they would come out of the hole in the same part or same time.
Right, because they don't. She comes out
Yes.
alone, and I'm assuming he goes and visits dinosaurs. If dinosaurs were real, I don't know.
Yeah.
Jury's still out. I don't know what the implication is here. You have pointed out there's some stuff that happens when characters touch that affects timelines and things. I don't know where I fall on that, just because I haven't clocked it in the same way. But it does seem to me that if these two were holding on to each other, they should pop out of the same hole at the same time. Mm-hmm. But I don't know.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if that's just setting up something for later. Like, she reached out and she couldn't grab him. Like, are we going to get something later where she does reach out, another character maybe are also falling through the hole, reach out, they grab each other, and it restores the timeline, everything is perfect again? Or I don't know. I'm hoping they don't do that, because I kind of like people dealing with their situations that they're kind of in, and the show has kind of said that essentially, right? Like, Perry going back, Joey going back, like, you need to just accept the reality that you're in. So if they can just, in a clean way at the end of the season, say, oh, nope, everything is fixed and corrected, I wouldn't like that as much.
No, I think we talked about this a pod or two ago. I don't want the dominoes all to fall back into place. I want this to be messy, and I think it should be messy based on causality, which is a term you keep saying, and I obviously believe is a word. So I'm interested to see where they go. We have 5, 6, and 7 for them to wrap this all up. I don't know. I mean, the conversation with Joy and Josh Brolin is going to be Royal is going to be Josh Brolin is like, hey, where were you? I saw you when you were little. And then Royal's just like, hey, do you have $500,000? I could use some money. Like, she's like, oh, your dad had that same issue back in 1886. Mm-hmm. I don't know how this is all going to go, but I am interested, and I just hope those crazy kids, Rhett and Maria, make it. That's where I'm at.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'm with you. I'm excited to see the reunion of Joy and her family as she's been gone. I feel a little bit sad for interim Sheriff Matt. He's not going to get his comeuppance now. He's going to be replaced.
But when he runs for office in a couple of years, he'll be able to look back at this time, and he'll have sheriff experience.
Exactly. But yeah, with you, man. Like, I was kind of bummed that we didn't get more of kind of our main storyline and the Autumn Cult and all the other stuff that's kind of going on, because I feel like that's some of the stuff I'm more interested in. But certainly a well shot and well done episode, outside of maybe some of the comical writing for the dad. I thought that could have been treated a little bit better.
Sure. Yeah, make fun of my favorite character. Criticize my favorite character. I can't wait to see him in the next episode when he gets up and he just was winged in the, shoulder. One of the spots on the body where in a show you're just like, oh, they're going to survive somehow. Mm-hmm. I'm sure
like
he's going to be okay. Just exactly. Shot in the neck. Neck and spine. He's A-okay, guys.
He walked it off.
Mm-hmm. He drank some water, took some ibuprofen, and everything was good. All right. Join us back here for episode 5. You can reach out to us at teambingepodcast@gmail.com. That email is open specifically for these things. It is open for theories. It is open for praise. It is open for the opposite of criticism. And it is also open if you have some sort of like pyramid scheme, you're selling something and you'd like Tom and I to get involved, but only if we're going to make a lot of money off of it. Mm-hmm. So
we're generally in. Yep, you're right.
Always in. Or if you want us to meet some sort of strange minor celebrity you're representing, and we can be part of their marketing campaign.
That actually happened.
So, Tom, what did I miss?
Follow us on the socials at Team Binge or at Team Binge Podcast on Twitter and Instagram. If you enjoy what we're doing, definitely go check out our back catalog. And if you haven't left us a review and have enjoyed our show, we would appreciate you doing that through like Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen to your podcast. I'm looking at you, Steve. I don't know if we have a Steve listener, but if there is, like, he hopefully should be giving us a review now because I worked for Mel. Mel gave us a review.
Mel's incredible. All right. Well, with all that guilt we've laid on you, I have been Julian.
And I have been Cowboy Tom. Till next week, everybody.